I'm Dave Wood, a design educator and researcher, a published design author, and I've worked commercially as both a freelance illustrator and graphic designer. I actually use semiotics all the time in my creative work, but probably like yourselves, I was never taught semiotic theory at design school. I'm a Scouser from Liverpool and a New Scot, and this Scout Scot Semiosis 101 YouTube channel focuses on explaining Peircean semiotic theory in a more designer-centric way to visual communication designers, illustrators and graphic designers. The guy behind the theory, Charles Sanders Peirce, he wrote the theories in late 19th, early 20th century, and he was a philosopher, a mathematician and a theorist, but one thing he wasn't, unfortunately, was a creative. I have a PhD in visual communication, and it took until my doctorate to actually study semiotic theory in order to really understand how to apply semiosis, the active sign action of semiotic signs, when producing visual communication work. As a result, each week on the Scout Scot Semiosis 101 YouTube channel, I'll post at least one 10-minute explainer video on an aspect of Peirce's pragmatic semiotic theory. Each free Semiosis 101 10-minute video will use more design-centric terms instead of Peirce's theoretical language, so that illustrators and graphic designers can follow and understand. Each video will feature a take-home piece of applicable semiotic theory, and they do interconnect to build up your understanding of semiosis. But this channel is not a course in semiotics per se. Instead, think of each video being a bite-sized piece of illustrated new knowledge on sign action, or semiosis as Peirce names it. The aim of these free videos is to take Peirce's quite complex philosophical, theoretical language and put it in the context of designing visual communication, whether these are illustrations, motion, branding, packaging, editorial, etc. So, whether you are just interested in semiotics, or you are a semiotician, a visual communicator, an illustrator, a graphic designer, or somebody just interested in knowing how Peirce's semiosis theory can help to enhance your visual communication skills, then please like these videos, subscribe to this channel, and if you want to be notified when next week's video hits YouTube, hit the bell button. Okay, let's get to the first episode on general Peircean semiotic theory for illustrators and designers. Today, in around 10 minutes, we will focus on the elephant in the design studio, theory. We will see how semiosis, Peircean semiotics, is relevant in commercial creative practice by outlining our design process to a whole semiotic journey. I'll also define the two forms of semiotic theory, and it will be a fact-packed 10 minutes that will prepare you for what this channel will give you. Knowledge of semiotic theory you can apply to your creative work to improve your visual communication skills. So, stay tuned, subscribe, let's go. Hi, so the elephant in the design studio that we're gonna focus on during this 10-minute talk is about the designer's knowledge and what the designer creates. So the visual communication designer, whether or not you are a graphic designer, illustrator, motion designer, whatever, this is where we're talking from. So Polanyi, in his book, The Tacit Dimension, talks about tacit knowledge, and that's how graphic designers and illustrators sort of describe how their knowledge comes about. They just do what they do because that's their training. They feel instinctively that's what they're doing, but there's a lot of theory that underpins that, whether or not they realise that or not. So this is what Polanyi talks about indirectly in his book on tacit knowledge. He talks about tacit knowledge as a way of suggesting that the work created by the designer comes from a knowledge we cannot tell, because we can't put that into words of how it works. We just know it works. We have what he calls Wissen and Können. We know what is to be done, which leads to knowing how to do it. So they're the two things that underpin how designers, visual communication designers, discuss their work through tacit knowledge. So that tacit knowledge
is really underpinned by a lot of theoretical knowledge. So the knowing what is to be done, wissen, which then leads to knowing how to do it, können. So within what Pollyanning is talking about here from a visual communication designer, illustrator's point of view, is the fact that the theoretical knowledge is the knowing how to do things. And that's what the focus really about these videos are all going to be about in regards to semiotics, or Peircean semiotic theory, which I'll come on to. So the elephant in the design studio really, in regards to theory, is the fact that in design school, we do get given theory when we teach it and when we learn. We do get that. We learn through doing. We learn how to know how to do something. But in the real world of designer land, out in the real commercial world, and fairyland, which is seen to be more academic, there seems to be a split between these two areas. Because in design, we haven't got the theoretical legacy of hundreds and hundreds of years worth of theory underpinning design, even though we do, but we borrow design theory from other theories. So I'm just going to come on to an important one here, which is semiotics, and that's what the focus of all the videos are going to be about. Okay, semiotics, the theory of signs. So in his book, Hall, this means this, this means that, a user's guide to semiotics. Hall defines the semiotic journey, which is very helpful to understand how visual communicators can employ the use of signs to enhance their visual communication of whatever it is that they've been asked to do. So the semiotic journey, as far as Hall is concerned, starts with the sender. So to begin the actual process, there's a sender. With that sender, there's an intention of communication. There's got to be a message that needs to be communicated, visually communicated. That then needs to be transmitted in some media. How effective that transmission is going to be, it gets affected by external noise, all kinds of other things get in the way of effective communication. And that noise affects how the receiver of the visual communication of the semiotic journey is actually going to understand what's being communicated to them. That receiver is the destination, and that destination is essentially where everything comes together and people know what they are receiving. So let's just unpack this a little bit further. So we have your client. In our case, as visual communication designers, illustrators, we start off with a brief from the client. So the client is the sender, that's who we're working for. The brief is the intention. What is the requirement of the actual project that we are creating an illustration for, or a piece of graphic design for, a campaign for, whatever it is? What needs to be communicated, which is the message. How do we communicate that? Well, the graphic design, illustration, whatever we were commissioned to do, the deliverables of that. The noise, what gets in the way of this. And in a way, all of these videos are going to be focusing on how to effectively get beyond the visual communication noise of competing attention spans directly to the receiver, who is the audience that we have, that our graphic design and illustrations need to communicate to. And the destination is effective visual communication. So Hall talks about the sender, the intention, the message, the transmission, the noise gets in the way, the receiver, and the destination as part of the semiotic journey. And in the white here, you can see on the screen, this is breaking it down into how that actually applies into the day-to-day world of visual communication designers, illustrators. Your clients, the brief the client gives you, what needs to be communicated, how are you going to do that, what's the transmission form going to be, what's going to get in the way of that communication, how do you get over that noise to your audience and effectively visually communicate the intended message that is needed within there. So there are all the things that semiotics can really help designers and illustrators to really go beyond just tacit knowledge to have a bit more understanding exactly how they could be more effective. So semiotics. The next question really is, which semiotics do you want to follow? So semiotics, there's two main semiotic theories. Both of them were developed in the early 20th century, late 19th century, early 20th century. One was in Europe and one was in North America. So let's just quickly unpack these two semiotic theories. We have Charles Sanders Peirce in North America. He came up with semiotic theory. And then we've got de Saussure in Europe. And these two people came to semiotic theory by two different paths. So let's just quickly unpack a little bit more of that. So Peirce, for the sake of how Peircean semiotic theory is applied to visual communication design, I'm using the term semiosis to describe Peirce's semiotic theory. And semiology is the semiotic theory for Saussure. So we have these two different semiotic theories that not necessarily are competing, but both of them have different ways of approaching how semiotics effectively works. We have Ferdinand de Saussure, who's a structuralist. His theory is semiology. His theory is more linguistic. And then we have Charles Sanders Peirce, who's one of the founders of the pragmatist philosophical movement. And his semiotic theory, for as far as graphic designers and illustrators are concerned, is semiosis. Semiosis is a word he defined himself, which basically means sign action, the action of the sign. And in future videos, we will unpack these, but right now, this is the two particular theories of semiotics. Both of them follow the same semiotic journey, roughly. And what I will do in the future videos is unpack how the theory of semiosis from Charles Sanders Peirce can be not just employed by visual communication designers, graphic designers and illustrators, but also how you can apply the theory, which is really quite complex, but apply the theory into the fundamentals of the ideation to actually help enhance your visual communication. So come back and watch more of the videos as they appear on this YouTube channel. And that's it for today.
So that is our 10 minutes of Peirce for this week. We can now see that theory is crucial to improving creativity and that the semiotic journey is already embedded in our design process. Over the coming weeks, we will explore how semiosis can be applied into illustration and graphic design. I hope as creatives you agree that Peirce's semiotic theory of semiosis offers a lot of rich pickings to enhance our visual communication skills. There will be another video next week, so come back. By following this Scout Scott YouTube channel, you will learn how Peirce's pragmatic semiotic theory of semiosis can help to enhance and improve how you visually communicate. I have many more Peircean semiotic topics to discuss, but I would be interested in hearing about your semiotic ideas. Add a comment below. And if you like this video, check out my other semiotic videos and consider liking and sharing those videos with others. The more we creatives discuss semiotic theory, the easier its application into our creative processes will be. Over the years, I have collaborated with other design academic researchers and Peircean semioticians to develop a designer-centric explanation of Peirce's theoretical language. If you are interested in reading my semiotic Rosetta Stone academic writing, then you can visit my academia.edu link in the description. As a fellow creative and a published design author, I also have links in the description to my Scout Scott Redbubble shop featuring illustrated and typographical gift ranges, and to my 2014 design book published by Bloomsbury Publishing, Interface Design, and Introduction to Visual Communication in UI Design. Any other books on Pearson semiotics I've mentioned in the videos are also listed in the description. Check them out too. Thanks for watching. Check out the other videos, like and share them with your friends, and hit the bell button to be notified when next week's video is published on YouTube. See you all again next week for more Semiosis 101 to help illustrators and designers to enhance your visual communication skills.